Moving on, our first speaker today is Razvan Burciu. Razvan is the co-founder of JustMad, a product designer and innovation consultancy from Transylvania. Some of his trainings and consulting clients feature UiPath, DBS, Freeletics, Banca Transilvania, and Revolut, to name a few. As a self-taught designer, his work resides at the intersection of business and design, and spent the last 8 years of his professional life in the universe of UX, design thinking, and workshops. Razvan, you have the mic.
Thank you, Catalin. First of all, for the intro and for doing everything that's happening here. Everyone, super nice to meet you, although I cannot incidentally see all of you at once, but I say hi to everyone on YouTube, on Facebook, and here. Thank you for having me. Catalin, amazing thing to find out that you attempted to be a stand-up comedian. That is something that I had no idea of, so thanks for sharing that with everyone. That's awesome. I want to say thank you to you and your team first and foremost. I know I have a time slot for this, but I really want to congratulate you for doing kind of these specific talks on UX and e-commerce that you had a few days ago. As you know, and as you just said, like failure, and in my opinion, the fear of failure is something that a lot of people are being held back by. It's sort of a handbrake of our generation. And events like this, I think, kind of take off of that stigma and allow people to be more open and not just talk about failure, but embrace it and look at it as more of a learning experience rather than something destructive. So thank you for that. It's really, really nice to be here. I've prepared 3 main topics that I want to talk about, and they're going to be under the form of personal stories. And honestly, if anything, I would be super happy if you could at least take one of them and internalize it in some shape or form and apply and work on it. That would make me feel super humbled. So let's get started. Before jumping into 3 topics, just a very quick intro, a little bit more, I would say, dynamic and detailed than the intro Catalin just told me. I'm a self-taught designer. I've learned everything basically on my own. I cracked Photoshop just like most people did when I was around 14 and started basically freelancing, doing all sorts of design from like logos, websites, posters, menus, everything I could for local businesses. And I fell in love with this whole thing called UX at the age of 17. I just figured out that design can be a little bit more than just aesthetics. So I discovered the idea of UX as a discipline and how it can basically tries to understand humans and try to deliver value through these awesome gadgets and devices that we have. So I just started doing that and actually set up my first agency when I was 17. I initially planned to be an architect. I ditched that idea and ended up starting a degree in computer science. The whole thing failed me. The education system failed me, and I dropped 1 year later to work on my own product, which I eventually sold. I'm now 25, and for the last 7.5 years, I've been consulting in the field of UX and worked with companies like the ones Catalin just mentioned, to name a few: Banca Transilvania, UiPath, Freeletics, DBS, among others. And Catalin also mentioned JustMad, the agency that I currently work for and founded with my life and business partner, Anna. And that's pretty much everything I had to say about myself. Let's get into those 3 topics. And I want to give you sort of a fair warning. As we were in the green room with Catalin, he said like, well, certain people approach this in different ways. And just as a warning, as a note to everyone listening, I apologize in advance if certain parts of everything that I'm about to say will sound inspirational. And I'm not talking about the good kind of inspirational, that kind of internet salesy stuff that some people sell as inspirational. That's not my purpose. I'm not an inspirational speaker. I don't have this tragic life event that I drastically managed to get over, and that's why I'm here. I'm just a simple guy who is doing his like voodoo UX stuff in front of a screen, burning sticky notes and trying to understand people. And apparently some other people are willing to pay for that. So here are the 3 topics. And as I said, I'm going to approach them sort of like statements. Here we go. First one on my list is: every goal is an iceberg. And this is something that I learned in a very, very hard way, because a good part of my life, I was this yes man. I was saying yes to everything, every little thing that would come my way, not just client work, but people approaching me. Hey, we should do this thing together. Hey, we should collaborate on this other thing. And diverse thing that I was saying yes to. And I was pretty naive. I would just buy whatever people were selling me, right? And I would just say, I would bite. I would just go for it. I was also really greedy because I would do anything for a quick buck. And for the designers out there who are probably at the beginning of their career, I wouldn't advise you to do otherwise, because you can't really be picky when you're at the beginning of something new, whether it's stand-up or singing or design or whatever, right? So I actually want to be financially independent, get off the back of my parents. And I was just saying yes to anything. Everything people will tell me, I'd be like, yeah, I'll do it. But the problem is, as despite being like kind of thinking of how success is going to look like, this is where I mean, it's like goals and things you want to do are like icebergs. You just see the tip, you see the result, but you don't think about all the work that is behind it. And the problem that I had when I was this kind of yes man is I was having no focus. I was every time you say yes to something, it's sort of a verbal contract. You tell that person or that client or that team that you're going to be there for them, right? But I have the same amount of hours in a day like everyone else. I don't have 38 hours in a day. I don't have that luxury. But as I was saying yes to all these things and not having enough time, I would inevitably make these contracts and couldn't fulfill them. I was half-assing things. I was literally spreading myself too thin, working on too many things at once. And my work actually dropped in quality because I was just trying to get things done pretty quickly. And on top of that, I was causing delays and actually ended up breaking some really serious work relationships and ended up being on bad terms with people because I couldn't fulfill the deed that I set up to do. And not to mention the pressure and all the time that I spent on something that I would half-ass and it would obviously not turn into nothing that I could work with. And yeah, thinking back at it, like if that was worth it, I think not. It took me a long time to figure that out. And I just learned that being a yes man is not sustainable. And what the takeaway would be of this is just consider the full process or the full workload that comes with the promise. Like if you talk to someone and say, yeah, I'll help you, they might take your word for it. And if you're doing something for yourself, don't just think about the result, because there's always a lot of work behind something that you want to do. And as a bonus, that would probably and will help me make better decisions on what to say yes to. I would say look for things that bring you joy and things that help you grow. Otherwise, it's not really worth it. I told you some things might sound a little inspirational, but that's just how it comes out. So let's go to the second topic, which is don't be a sheep. Don't feel offended by this just yet. I'm going to explain exactly what I mean. As I said in the beginning, I'm a university dropout. And that's a really interesting spot to be in. Dropping out of university in a country like ours that has free education might sound like a very dumb thing to do. And actually, people judge you. I tell people like, "What did you finish?" Well, in computer science. I finished computer science, but actually I didn't finish. I just quit after 1 year. And they're like, "Oh, cool." But in the back of their minds, you can see it in their eyes that they're kind of, how dare you? How did you not fall in line like everyone else? Well, what are you, the outlier? What's wrong with the pattern? And why are you not following it? And the thing is that they don't know the full story. And especially in a country like ours, as I said, and a culture like ours, Romania, has its kind of particular cultural traits. Now, a little backstory. So I dropped out of university for two main reasons. First, I made a wrong choice on what to pursue. I pursued computer science, although I knew I had no interest in becoming a developer. I didn't want to write any code. I hated it. It was definitely not what I wanted to do. I was the UX guy. I was more about getting to people's minds and just designing stuff that works well, does a great job. And the development was not really the path for me. I mean, I can write code. I could write code even right now, but I don't really enjoy it. It's not something that I would just sit down and do for hours on end feeling good about. So honestly, what were my options? Like I could have gotten an arts degree, which I really didn't want to do. And then the other option was psychology. And those are my only options, because at the time, I'm not aware if there was any university in Romania that would teach user experience or human computer interaction. Sure, I could have went abroad, but that was not an option. So I chose the closest thing to it, computer science. It was just the closest thing to UX that I felt works. And it made sense because my high school degree was in mathematics and informatics. So that was just the way I felt I should go. That was reason number one. And reason number two is I dropped out because the real world experience for me beats the classroom. Immediately after I decided to end my whole academia pursuit, I just felt guilty. I really felt guilty because that is actually the failure in this story, not the fact that I actually dropped out. Looking back, it's honestly the best decision I could possibly make. Instead of staying in class and doing subjects that I was definitely not interested in and would not be relevant to me in any shape or form, I instead deepened what I actually wanted to do, which was UX. I gained experience. I get the chance to work with real clients, not just look at textbook examples. And I literally exposed myself to the real world scenarios, right? And that's something that a degree, at least in our country, does not teach you. I'm not generalizing here. It's just my particular story and the journey that I had. So I gradually managed to get over that feeling of guilt and people's judgment for what I was doing because I was not the normal way of doing things. And honestly, I made my own way. I'm pretty damn proud of it. And I think no one can tell me otherwise. And that is the moral of this story. You don't have to follow the same path that everyone else does. It's okay to go on the unbeaten path and figure your way around. It's all an experiment. It's all a bunch of failures and successes. So if that's what you feel, just do it. Don't like that boring job that you're currently fixed in, no problem. You can explore freelancing on the side and decide if you want to go full time after you achieve some sort of financial stability and you have the power to do the transition. Or if you don't want to get a loan to buy an apartment, that's my scenario right now. You're just kind of like, and I didn't want to do what most folks do. I didn't want to get a loan to get a place. So you don't need to. You can get a van, travel through Europe until you feel like setting roots. And that's perfectly fine. So whatever it is, just go for it if it feels right. And for the last thing, Katalin, how am I on time? Is this okay?
Yeah,
am
I
I
think
late?
so. I have no idea. So just
Perfect.
keep going.
We'll just eyeball it. No problem.
Okay.
Okay. This is the last statement, my third takeaway, and I honestly feel this is the most important, and I really hope this reaches a lot of people. For a very long time at the beginning of my career, I was reluctant to get out and ask other designers for help. I was too proud. I wanted to make it on my own because I started as a kind of self-taught designer. I wanted to make it on my own. I wanted to feel the hustle, the hustle culture that everyone's talking about. I wanted to make it on my own. I was like grind day in and day out until I could figure everything out by myself. That's what I was having in my head then. And also I was a little afraid, to be honest. I was afraid of being called a rookie and patronized by someone who's better than me. I felt that any question that I would have for a senior designer were either like super childish or definitely not worth their time. I would definitely, I would admire designers everywhere. I'd see their work, their portfolios. It was really cool. But I just couldn't build up the motivation and actually the confidence to reach out. And I figured out pretty late that I was completely wrong about this. I eventually learned that there are people out there who are actually willing to lend a hand and just drop you some advice if you need it. But I also learned how to ask for help. And this is something really important without being like how to ask for help began being like an absolute spammer. I don't want you to understand that the takeaway of this is to go on LinkedIn and start mass messaging your contacts. That's not the way to do it, right? The way I see it, I'm trying to illustrate this with my hands. Every person is in this scenario. You're here, right? Somewhere in the middle. And there's always someone that's better than you. Always someone that is more achieved, has achieved more success in your field, is better, has better reviews, better clients. There's always someone who's better than you, except for like a very small percentage that we call like the gods. And like no one's going to tell Don Norman what UX is about, right? So there's always people that are better than you and the people you can learn from, obviously, but there's also people who are not as good as you are, okay? Your goal is to obviously get better. Right? That's what everyone wants, even if that means getting 1% better every single day. But you also need to contribute. Being in this middle position gives you the power to learn from others. And then when your turn comes, you should give to others. It's like this beautiful cascade of information, if you will. It's just this balanced game of give and take, which I want to encourage you to engage with, because what I find really useful is to find a community where you can help people who are under you and actually learn from those who are willing to help you. Find these close communities that actually harness a thing that I call, and that's called in like company culture, is like a psychological safety, which means that even if you have this dumb question, like it's like completely dumb because you're a beginner, right? If you ask that question, you're not going to get hateful comments. You're not going to get people telling you that you're an idiot and this is not the topic to be posting about, right? It's a place where people have an open mind and they just find the right synergies in order to help each other. So find that kind of community. And now I'm addressing a direct message to the seniors out there. We've all been designers, right? Everyone started somewhere. Everyone started with nothing. No one teaches you UX the moment you're out of your mom's belly. So calling out all seniors designers that are listening to this thing, folks, please take some time, even a little bit. It doesn't have to be a monstrous commitment. Take a little bit of time and give back to your community. Whether you want to do it for the Romanian community or the global community, I don't care, but just make some time to do that. And if you don't want to, that's perfectly fine. You do you. This is a call out for those who want to listen. So like do little things, like write a stupid little article, right? You don't need to be this speaker on a huge stage with tens of thousands of people watching you. You don't need to have a best-selling book or anything. It's enough to write an article or just find a fellow designer in your city that is struggling and help them out. I'm sure there's something you can give to them that they're going to appreciate and they're going to make them even 1% better. The worst that can happen to you if you do this is you're going to be a thoughtful human being. And I think that is enough as a return. I personally dedicate around 10% of my working time to helping others, especially designers who are trying to find their way. Last year, we did a UX mentorship program. This year, we are building communities and we're helping these kind of junior designers find their path and just connecting them with potential work. And honestly, it's super rewarding. And we're not asking a dime for it. It's just our 10% of the time. So if there's anyone listening to this that wants to talk about things related to UX or freelancing or careers or whatever it may be in this topic, please reach out. I'm happy to help you. And I really encourage my peers, other designers to do the same. It won't hurt you. All right. That was it. That was my time. I have 3 things I want to end with, and those are 3 books. I want to give you a book for yourself, your life. I want to give a book for your working life, and I want to give you a book that are going to help both. The book for you is Ikigai. It's the Japanese concept that Ikigai is that reason for being. It combines what you're good at with what you enjoy doing and what impacts others and makes you money. I highly recommend you check out that book. I don't have it with me here because it's in ebook format. The second book for your work is Jobs to be Done. If you're a UX or product designer and you're not using jobs to be done to uncover your customer needs at a very, very scientific level, you're missing out on a lot of great stuff. Jobs to be done. And the third book that is going to help both your professional and personal life, if I could just find it, it is The Power of Moment. It's an amazing book that teaches you how to create amazing experiences, not just in work, but also in your life. And that was my time. Thanks, everyone, and happy to take any of your questions